The dusty attic air tasted like forgotten summers and old books. For 12-year-old Leo, it was the perfect sanctuary, a world away from the quiet tension that had settled over the house like a fine layer of that same dust. His kingdom was a fortress of cardboard boxes, his throne an old armchair leaking stuffing. But his most prized possession was nestled in a worn blue case, a Yamaha acoustic guitar, a gift from his grandfather that felt far too big for his small hands. Downstairs lived his 15-year-old sister, Chloe. To Leo, Chloe was a different species altogether. She was a creature of shimmering screens, curated social media feeds, and a constant, low-grade aura of annoyance that seemed specifically tuned to his frequency. Her world was one of whispered phone calls, pop music, and a door that was always definitively closed. They coexisted in the same 2,000 square foot space, their lives running on parallel tracks that never, ever intersected. Their parents, Mark and Susan, had tried everything. Forced family game nights, mandatory shared pizza dinners, elaborate lectures about the importance of sibling bonds. It all ended the same way, with Leo retreating to his chord charts and Chloe vanishing into her digital universe, both casting resentful glances at the other for having to endure the ordeal. The catalyst for change, as it often is, was a minor domestic catastrophe. Mark and Susan had to leave suddenly for a family emergency back east. They'd be gone for a long weekend, and Mrs. Gabble from next door would be checking in. The air in the house shifted the moment their parents' car pulled out of the driveway. The usual background noise of their lives was gone, replaced by a heavy, echoing silence. The first day was a masterpiece of avoidance. Leo practiced until his fingertips were raw, stumbling through the chords of Wonderwall, a song he'd found in an old songbook. The sound was clumsy, full of buzzing strings and rhythmic hiccups. Chloe, in her room, blasted her music louder, a clear auditory fence between their territories. On the second day, the silence became oppressive. Leo, emboldened by boredom and a strange, restless energy, decided to try and record himself. He set up his dad's old laptop, opened a basic recording program, and positioned himself on the attic's dusty rug. He launched into his shaky rendition of Wonderwall. He was so focused on getting the F chord, right, a notorious hurdle for beginner guitarists, that he didn't hear the creak on the attic stairs. He was mid-chorus, singing in a voice that hadn't quite decided if it was going to be deep or squeaky when a sound broke his concentration. It wasn't a scoff or a laugh. It was a clear, melodic voice singing the next line perfectly on key. And all the roads we have to walk are winding. Leo's hands froze on the fretboard, creating a jarring screech of strings. He spun around. There, standing in the attic doorway, was Chloe. She wasn't smirking. She looked curious. You know this song? Leo stammered, his face flushing crimson. Chloe shrugged, leaning against the doorframe. It's like a classic, Leo. Everyone knows that song. Even people who weren't born in the dark ages. But there was no malice in her tone. She took a tentative step into the room, her eyes scanning the cardboard fortress. Your rhythm is off, by the way. You're rushing the chorus. Leo stared at her. This was the most words she'd strung together in his direction in months, and they were musical criticism. How would you know? Instead of answering, Chloe walked over, her movements uncharacteristically hesitant. She pointed to the laptop. Can you play that back? Bewildered, Leo clicked play. The clumsy guitar and his wavering voice filled the attic. He cringed, waiting for her to make a cutting remark. But she just listened, her head tilted, a small frown of concentration on her face. When it finished, she said, Your strumming pattern is all downstrokes. It needs to be more like this. She mimed a fluid up and down motion with her hand. And you're not breathing when you sing. You're holding your breath through the whole phrase. Leo was dumbfounded. Since when do you know about strumming patterns and breathing? Chloe looked down, suddenly fascinated by a loose thread on her sweater. I'm in the school choir. Have been for 2 years. Mr. Davies is a total hardcore about technique. The revelation hit Leo with the force of a physical blow. Chloe, choir. He pictured her with her trendy clothes and AirPods, and the image just didn't compute with the idea of standing in rows singing scales. He'd had no idea. Absolutely none. Oh, was all he could manage. An awkward silence descended again, but this one was different. It was filled with the debris of shattered assumptions. Leo looked at his guitar, then back at his sister. An insane, impulsive idea formed in his mind. Can you show me? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Chloe looked as surprised as he felt. She glanced towards the stairs, back to her silent, solitary kingdom, then back at Leo's hopeful, expectant face. She let out a long sigh, a dramatic teenage sound that Leo knew well. But then she did something she hadn't done in years. She sat down on the rug beside him. Okay, she said. Start from the top, and this time try to relax your wrist. That was the beginning. For the next hour, the attic was transformed from a lonely hideout into a makeshift music studio. Chloe, it turned out, was a surprisingly patient teacher. She didn't just sing. She understood music. She explained the 4/4 time signature, counted out the beats for him, and even sang the melody softly while he played, her voice a clear, steady guide that kept him from rushing. Leo was a diligent student, his frustration with the F chord melting away under her clear instructions. It's all in the thumb placement, she said, adjusting his hand on the guitar's neck. Her fingers were cool against his. It was the first time they had touched without it being an accidental bump in the hallway, or a shove during an argument. They took a break, raiding the kitchen for soda and chips, the normalcy of the act feeling strangely profound. They sat at the kitchen table, the silence between them now comfortable, curious. Why didn't you ever say anything? About choir, I mean, Leo asked, crunching on a potato chip. Chloe swirled the soda in her can. I don't know. It's not exactly cool. It's easier to just post a picture from a concert than to talk about, I don't know, diaphragmatic breathing. She paused. Why didn't you tell anyone you were trying to learn guitar? Same reason, I guess, Leo admitted. It's kind of dorky, and I'm not very good. You're getting better, Chloe said, and she almost smiled. It was a small, fleeting thing, but Leo saw it. That's when she proposed it. The idea that would define their entire weekend. You know, she said, her voice casual, if we combined your guitar with my vocals, we might actually have something that doesn't sound totally terrible. We could try a different song. Something simpler. Leo's heart gave a little leap. Like what? She pulled out her phone, scrolling through a playlist. What about Count on Me by Bruno Mars? It's got 3 chords, mostly, and it's nice. And so they went back to the attic. Leo found the chords online C, G, AM, a Fey progression that was infinitely more manageable than the one in Wonderwall. Chloe pulled up the lyrics on her phone. They started tentatively at first. Leo's chords were simple, a steady, reliable foundation. And then Chloe began to sing. If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea. Leo had heard his sister sing along to the radio 1,000 times, a distracted mumble. This was different. This was her choir voice. It was warm and clear, and filled with a gentle, genuine emotion that made the hairs on his arms stand up. She wasn't just singing the words. She was feeling them. Her voice wrapped around his simple chords, elevating them, turning their clumsy duet into something that was undeniably music. They practiced for hours. They worked on the timing, on the dynamics, on when to sing together in harmony. They argued about the bridge, laughed when Leo messed up the transition for the 10th time in a row. and high-fived when they finally got through the whole song without a major mistake. For the first time in years, they weren't Leo and Chloe, the siblings who annoyed each other. They were a band, a two-person attic-dwelling, soda-fueled band. On the final day before their parents returned, they decided to make a recording. It was Chloe's idea. For evidence, she said with a grin. So we can prove this actually happened. They set up the laptop carefully. The attic was tidy, the guitar tuned. Leo took a deep breath, his fingers resting on the strings. Chloe stood beside him, her phone with the lyrics in one hand. She gave him a nod. From the top, she said softly. Leo started to play. The C chord rang out, clear and bright. He moved to G, then AM, his strumming steady and confident. And then Chloe began to sing. If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. They played through the entire song, and it was in the second chorus that the moment happened. The moment that surprised Leo so completely, it almost made him forget the chord. He was playing, they were singing the lines together, their voices blending, his a little rough around the edges, her smooth and sure. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there, and I know when I need it. I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. As they sang the words, you can count on me. Leo glanced over at his sister. Her eyes were closed, her face was serene.